Greetings. Greetings. D-Boy West Coast Uncensored. How are you guys doing? Take off the glasses. I only need this for reading. Can see well distance. Thank you guys for the previous watches on the other videos out and your comments on YouTube. Much appreciated. Thank you for those. This helps. Those who on Instagram have got back to me and said keep me bringing the content. So here I am, getting back at it, doing a lot of different things now at one time. So being busy, staying busy, and we're going to even talk about some things today that pertain to us sometimes all the time, right? Actually, it does. What happens is every day when we get up, we have choices to make, and what naturally goes if we don't. How is your personality? How are you? What is your barometer of your barometer, right? What's your barometer when you get up? Do you have certain things you do to get into the proper mindset that you need to do? Or because if you don't, maybe you will automatically go into, like I said, a grumpy person has to work on gratitude, right? A woe's me, Gulliver. Some of you younger folks might not remember, but Gulliver's an old cartoon show back in the day where Gulliver was always like, woe is me, always that bombarding self with self-prophecy of destruction somewhat, right? Bring it in on me because it's coming. Or are you somebody that has to shift the gears to take on a mindset? So what we're going to do is, it's going to sound like word of the day, but it's not. This is going to be the connective vibe because I'm going to tie some things in with two aspects I'm going to hit on, and then I'm going to tie them in on one big review, on a review after that. Just showing you how we really want to get into the focus of self, especially those who know and have the knowledge of knowing self. You are the temple. It's not a building made with hands or a structure outside of you. You are just like I've said many times with artificial intelligence or the computer world, you are the original. That's the AI, because everything about us and every aspect of us, self, is a copy of is copied on even the computer basis, artificial intelligence basis, and all that, right? And everything seems to really run on a program, right? And we've talked about programming here over and over, and we're going to talk. You're going to see the connection of this, but let's get into a word today. But this is not word of the day. You can apply it that because I'm going to tie it in on another video, and then we're going to combine them together on two words, which are really mindsets and judgments. Let's get started. So the word we're going to talk about is disappointment, right? Disappointment. And here I got my old reliable etymology, right? So when I look at disappointment, right away it says it's a defeat or failure of hope of or an expectation, right? And it's a combination of disappoint and then meant. And like I've said so many times, when you look at this disappointment, right? When you look at this, you're looking at the fact that it's there was an anticipation in this first part, right? And you feel defeated, that you've been conquered or lost. And also when the conquering or loss comes, it was a failure, right? A failure. And of a hope or something you expected to happen that didn't really go that way. So when we look at that, so disappointment, and then that's the disappointment or the disappoint, right? Now we're going to go into disappointment. It's a or a reverse operation of an appoint. A point is the top, right? Like a pyramid, you have the point or the top of the building, the higher structure that can go into the higher structure of a business, the hierarchy, right? The hierarch. Let's go this way so you can see it. The arc, right? The high point of the arc, right? which we even see in the seasons. In summer, the sun supposedly is in this higher arc, and in the winter goes into a lower place, right? So the disappointment is dissing your point. You had expectations of something and you felt it got dissed, or you thought it was a failure, or something that you didn't achieve. And then you take on this drubby feeling of defeat, lower frequency, lower vibration, that you've been beaten, that you sink, right? And one of the biggest things that when you see in this compound word of the disappoint is the adding of the mint. And like I've kind of said before, that we have to really look at anytime mint, M-E-N-T, is added to a word, it means mental. That's why it's so easy to decode when you start knowing this, how government has the govern, but the mental. And they're so good at playing mental games on us. They do what they're supposed to do. When people think, well, they're doing this wrong. No. They're doing what their called says, right? And then the disappointment to us is you're doing the same faction to you. Because let me tell you, every time you set out to do something and doesn't happen the way that you think it is, it's not a failure. It's not a failure. It's a lesson. And when you start transforming the lesson, right, instead of taking the defeat as a failure, dejection, crumbling you down into your lower self, which would bring depression, despair, just not doing anything to serve you. Let's look a little deeper at this too, right? It goes into modern day. It says to undo the appointment, to frustrate expectations, right? Frustration. There's another word that's a lower vibration, the frustrated, which is another word to look at even. You can always find these words to look at, right? That actually start aligning. That's why words are power. They're creative. That's why abracadabra actually means, and abracadabra is just not a movie word. Abracadabra means you create what you speak. It's magic, but it's really not magic. It's really science, because this is how it operates, right? If you speak negative, that's why I've always said here, we got to learn to practice not going in on ourselves, meaning how do you speak to yourself? And that's a whole next thing I'm going to do, is even into this or that. How do you speak to yourself? And I got a whole thing that I've put together that I'm just the other day, yesterday or the day before, about that when it was hitting me. And then I have these ideas and kind of wrote out, and that's coming. But think about it, the frustration. So you have frustration because you didn't get to your goal or your appointment where you wanted to get. And it's because of the expectations, right? It says here, it ends up being a defeat, the realization of the fulfillment, a fulfillment. So you feel defeated in the realization of not getting your goal or what you wanted out of something. And a lot of times this is self-prophecy, because the aspect of looking at the accepting, the realization that you're defeated, reverse engineer that stuff. Some of this is lessons. Some of this is really valuable lessons that we as folks, just not, I have to learn it, experience it, is that it's not defeat. It's a lesson learned. So you're equipped with the wisdom to the next level. Do what you need to do to make the tweak or the change if you've got a goal, or if there's somewhere you're trying to get. And then also, we do a lot of this outside ourselves with others, right? You're connected to what you're wanting from them, and then when they don't give it to you, then you have these expectations you built on. And when the expectations are not met, it goes from down. Depression, frustration, inadequate feelings. And then when we do it rallying around doing what others think, based on what others do, is not really our power zone. We don't have control what others do. We may have this idea that this is what they should do, this is what they need to follow, but then that really starts going into that starts being dogmatic, really. And then it starts, because people are only going to do what they're going to do. I've seen it over and over and over, and it's a lesson we have to learn, is when you expect somebody to do something outside of you, you may have gave somebody the greatest advice, this side of their life. And if they don't apply it, you get dejected. You can't be connected to the outcome at times, because sometimes the outcome is the lesson you have to learn, that you only really have power over yourself. And sometimes when you're dealing with other things, other situations, it's a learning situation, so you make the change you need to make for you, the tweak, the adjustment, which we're always talking about here, learning to use tools. Awareness tool. God, where's that awareness socket? Where's that gratitude hammer? Where's that gratitude? Where's that realization? I got to tweak this. I got to tighten this bolt. That's what I'm talking about within work. So you got disappointment, right? And disappointment goes into that, and even into the frustration. Frustration is related to, you start thinking that you are, it can be a deception even into a disappointment, because you think it's over and this is the radical end of something you tried to do, when really this was a growth period. I'm telling you, there is no failures. It's lessons learned that you need to traject. And this is a mindset from what you would call a failure, because a failure is like fear. There's an illusion in it. It doesn't mean it always is. It just means at this time it didn't. And then the factors could be you not being willing or at the place to receive that point that you wanted to get to at this time, that you had some other things that needed to be tweaked and worked on with you, and that would be the lesson you need to learn to eventually get to the point you needed to get to, so you wouldn't have a diss of your point. And then it messes you up where? You start having mental breakdowns in the fact that you start judging yourself, and then you start lowering your frequency, and by judging yourself you see demise, failure, frustration, ridicule yourself. You start bad talking yourself, right? We all did it. Let's be honest. This is a be honest thing. This is not a this is now the take responsibility zone. People who are coming here and want to follow and listen and appreciate this, no, this is about next level. This isn't about passing the buck and always ridiculing somebody else or blaming, because we went into all kinds of videos. Look at my past ones. Blame is lame. If you're walking with blame all the time, you become lame, meaning you can't walk upright. That's the whole, look at the story in the Bible of Cain and Abel. Cain, lame, needs a cane to stand. Abel means all the abilities are profound and you can stand. See that? So don't blame. Not a good game. Quit blaming. Take responsibility for all. Even when you know somebody else made the mistake, and we can blame definitely who's and all the stuff that we deal with here of the program and what is running, but you're not going to fix it blaming them. You're only going to fix it taking the responsibility for yourself or self. CELF or SELF, right? We know etymology, we know language here, we know the tweaks, we know the games. We're decoding all the time. Why? Because we're decoding all the time so we can start aligning. And when we start aligning, we start opening up doors and portals and waves and links and places within ourselves, right? Take full responsibility. So that would be, and then I'm going to end even connected with disappointment, is the lack of pleasure, contentment, uneasiness proceeding from disappointment. What's a disappointment? Usually for the lack of the gratification you were looking for. And I'm going to say this, quit looking to be gratified all the time, especially when you got we've been trained to be immediate gratifications, right? Our ancestors didn't have it. They cooked a meal, and they did a process for that meal. They did a process for the work. Now we got microwaves and all these quick, instant gratification generation. Doesn't complete you. Flip the script within yourself. You're the one that has power. You don't have any power over anybody outside of you, but you have full power for you. This is what this is about. So this not word of the day. This is the connective vibe. And it's disappointment. The next one we're going to go into is not going to be disappointment. It's going to be another word, and we're going to do that one too. Okay? You guys have a great day.